Now in this tutorial, we're going to be learning how to calculate the sine, cosine, and tangent according to some of the most common angles that come across the exercises in such questions and in such chapter. And so in such case, if we had the angles 0, 30, 45, 60, and 90 degrees, they are some of the most common angles that you are going to come across in questions that are related to this chapter. And so in such case, let's go ahead and try to memorize their sine, cosine, and tangent through a really simple way. At first, I'm going to number them from 0 to 4 in this increasing order, as you can see here. After we have numbered them from 0 to 4, let's go ahead and divide every number by 4. And so it's going to be 0 over 4, 1 over 4, 2 over 4, and etc. Then apply a square root to every single fraction that you have. After that, calculate its value. The first one is definitely 0. The second one, square root of 1 over 4. We know that square root of a over b is equal to square root of a divided by the square root of b, which means that 30 degrees is the square root of 1 divided by the square root of 4. And we know that the square root of 4 is equal to 2, so it is 1 over 2. Moving on to 45, we have the square root of 2 divided by 2. Moving on to the angle 60, square root of 3 also divided by 2, since of course square root of 4 is 2. And finally, for the square root of 4 divided by the square root of 4, that is equal to 1. And so see how we have calculated the sine for each angle using this simple method. Now moving on to the cosine, the first step that you're going to have to do is to number them from 1 to 0 in decreasing order. And so in such case, it's going to be the complete opposite. We're going to start from 1 and end to 0, the opposite to what we have done in the sine. So 0 is going to be numbered 1 and etc. Notice how we have the same exact numbers, but they are in the opposite order. And that is for the cosine. Now moving on to the values of the tangent. We know that for the tangent, it is sine over cosine. And so we can simply divide the value of the sine by the value of the cosine. So 0 divided by 1 is 0. Moving on to 1 over 2 divided by square root of 3 over 2. It's a compound fraction of 2 times 1 divided by 2 into the square root of 3, which is 1 over the square root of 3. Let's go ahead and rationalize it by multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by the square root of 3 to get rid of the square root in the denominator, of course, which will leave us with the square root of 3 over the number 3. And so that would be the value of tangent 30, square root of 3 divided by 3. Moving on to the following value. After that we have found the tangent of 30, we need to find the tangent of 45. Again, same method. The square root of 2 divided by 2 all over the square root of 2 divided by 2, which is equal to 1. Moving on to this one, tangent 60. It is the square root of 3 divided by 2 over the fraction 1 over 2. A compound fraction of 2 into the square root of 3 divided by 2. Reduce the fraction so that we will have the square root of 3 left. And finally, for the final one, you have 1 divided by 0, which is an undefined fraction. You cannot define it. And so that would be the end of this exercise.